Year 2014, a sunny February afternoon and a very special day for me as we had gathered at the Kolaba Press Club in Mumbai, India, to address a press conference introducing our newly formed Indo-Pak first cross-border musical outfit called the Mikal Hassan Band, with musicians from both India and Pakistan. Now, I was indeed feeling quite proud of myself to be chosen as the first Indian female vocalist to be part of a progressive rock band from Pakistan, originally from Lahore. Given the patriarchal mindset and the societal oppression of females in India, fronting an already famous Pakistani band that was previously an all-male member band was quite an achievement in my musical career. What was exciting for me was to fuse my training of Hindustani classical music with that of the contemporary progressive rock genre and to create a new sound of music to evolve out of South Asia. I was very sure of the fact that this would not only be a step towards Indo-Pak harmony through cultural exchange, but also encourage a lot of female artists to lead indie bands. We were hanging out at the press club lawn. As I took the first sip of my coffee, I heard an angry mob barging into the conference room. We rushed inside to see what was happening, and we figured that we were attacked by a group of 30 men. They shouted a slogan of Mikal Hassan Murdabad, Mikal Hassan Murdabad. Now, Murdabad means down with death. One of them took out a knife and tore apart the band's poster on stage. Others started vandalizing the hall, throwing off chairs and calling us names and terrorizing us. Now, this incident made a very deep impact on me later, and for the first time I realized how borders were of humongous significance in people's minds. Although a lot of my friends from the fraternity had discouraged me from associating with Pakistani musicians, I could not give up on my curiosity to know more about this immensely rich shared heritage of classical, semi-classical, folk and Sufi music. I wanted to present this music in the canvas of progressive rock, a beautiful fusion of two completely different styles of music. My focus also moved to Bengal, another province in the eastern part of India that had suffered the havocs of partition, the origin of which was Hindu-Muslim disharmony and religious intolerance. Born and brought up in Bengal, exposed to the traditional music there, and while working with Pakistani artists and understanding their music, I soon realized that though these two regions have been in tremendous conflict with each other, their songs and music speak of love, peace, and harmony. The poets, the singers, the folk singers, the artists were all speaking of love, either with instances of Heer Ranjha's love as reflected in the Punjabi Sufi kalams, or Lalan Fakir singing Shab Loke Koy, Lalon Ki Jat Shongshare, thereby questioning if love has any caste or creed or could be divided by religion or languages. Now, social networking sites have been a very interesting space where borders are completely diminished. Kinare is one of the songs that I had performed in a very famous and popular musical show to emerge out of Pakistan. It goes like, Kinare, 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 kinare dariya, kashti baandho, maujaye behre, ulfat mein khizar kinare. When Kinare was released, musicians from across the world and music lovers all shared it on their social media, as if no borders, nothing really mattered. It was just good music for music's sake. It was through one of such popular social networking sites that I had met Mikal Hassan. And a few months later, I discovered a message from him on my inbox inviting me to join his band. Now, I was already a huge fan of his music, and without any second thoughts, I grabbed the opportunity. The thought of where he belonged to never really occurred to me because my priority was to be part of great music with great musicians. Music, according to me, cannot be defined by borders. What was exciting for me was to be part of this progressive rock group, to fuse my learnings and offerings of Indian classical music with that genre, to understand Punjabi Sufi kalams and Persian qawwalis, and learn a completely different style of music. So, while doing this, I did not even realize that there exists a deep, dark border which could cause an impediment towards my experience of pursuing the same. I was so passionate in my head to kind of go in depth, knowing about the shared musical heritage. A couple of vandalizations and attacks, a cancelled nomination from a prestigious award show after being nominated were eye-openers. Although a lot of my friends were very excited about me joining this premier rock band from Pakistan, yet they were quite concerned about my safety and security with the performances. Some said it's a bad idea. Others were very excited about this great musical adventure that I was supposed to undertake with musicians from a land where no one would dare visiting. However, my beloved father, who I lost last year, was a pillar of strength to me, and he suggested that if I really wanted to go for it, I should just do it. And if anything happens, his Kolkata house doors would be open to me. Now, this gave me immense courage, and I never looked back. My band introduced me to a new world of music and various styles of singing. Punjabi Sufi kalams was something that I had never attempted before. And the way our band songs were composed, though they were very classical in origin, yet they were very different when it comes to the gaiki or the style of singing. I believe that this kind of music can be learned best when you learn it with somebody teaching you in person. I started training with Mikal Hassan and Mohammad Ahsan Papu, our flautist, over our extended Skype session, perfecting my diction and learning a new style of singing. From learning to sing with a big, bold, open voice to extending my vocal range to cover the entire repertoire of the band's music, to learning to pick up a new style of music was a very difficult job, which needed a lot of hard work. But I took the challenge and I did the best that was possible for me to get it right. Of course, my background in singing advertising jingles in more than 8 to 10 different languages made it easier for me to learn Punjabi faster and, sing in the language. I had come across this expression online which said that your mind is like a parachute and it doesn't work unless it's open. I believe it's quite the same with music. You cannot do it at the best of your capacity if you don't have an open mind. We were joined by 2 other members from the Indian side, Gino Banks, our drummer, and Sheldon De Silva, our bass player. When all of us got together and practiced, all the social implants of differences as people just vanished in the air. It was just a group of extremely passionate musicians and skilled musicians focused on doing great music. My experience of performing at a very famous and popular music show in Pakistan is also an event that is very memorable, and I'll cherish it for the rest of my life. The musicians were already familiar faces through YouTube. The work atmosphere had extreme ease, respect, and friendliness, as if I didn't even feel that I was in a different land. The work atmosphere had the same kind of intensity, the passion and involvement as we find in musicians in Mumbai. The only difference was the difference of passport. and that difference seemed to be a huge difference, the consequences of which we both enjoyed and suffered. Not being allowed to perform in our home grounds and this constant fear energy lurking in our minds made it emotionally very upsetting for musicians like us. I mean, this incident made me realize that how joyous it would be if we could perform in our own countries. In another instance, in the year 2015, I was performing in Khayal Festival in Lahore, Pakistan. My first public performance. Alhamra Arts Council, the venue, was packed with audiences. I was singing a few Sufi kalams and some Persian qawwalis by Amir Khusro. After the show was over, two men approached me backstage. They were clad in traditional Pakistani dress. They were a bit uncomfortable with one particular kalam that I was singing, which goes like, Namida namche manzil bood shab jaye ke man boodam. Namida namche manzil bood shab jaye ke man boodam. A part of the poetry by Khusro was a bit controversial given the religious context. Now, these two men had a problem with that, and they asked me if I knew the meaning of what I was singing and asked me to explain it to them. I did that, but then I wondered what exactly made them uncomfortable. Was it the poetry or was it a female singer singing it? Inspired by all of these, I started an Instagram initiative in the lockdown called Women of the Subcontinent with women artists from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. My aim is to connect these women and share their lived experiences in an atmosphere of sisterhood and solidarity. I'm told that the first ever song that I sang as a child was a Runa Laila folk song, which goes like, বন্ধু তিন দিন তোর বাড়িতে যাইলাম দেখা পাইলাম না বন্ধু তিন দিন গাং পার হইতে ছয় আনা ফিরাইতে ছয় আনা আইতে যাইতে 12 আনা উসুল হইল না বন্ধু তিন দিন. Now this was a fun up-tempo song and it caught my ears and I would constantly listen to it. Borders never really mattered then. In fact, Runa Laila was a Bangladeshi artist who was celebrated in Bengal, as if there was no borders. In fact, a 5-year-old did not know what borders were, really. When I grew up a little bit more, I came across this collaborative album between Ghulam Ali and Asha Bhosle. And the songs in that album inspired me to learn the intricacies of dance and the ornamentation of classical music so I could sing those songs. Borders still never mattered. What mattered was the tune, the rhythm, the poetry, and the way of performance. In fact, I was so inspired by this album, I started learning Urdu a few years later. When we were college-going youngsters, we would listen to music from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh alike. So we would listen to Miles from Bangladesh and Junoon from Pakistan and Lucky Ali from India with no real focus on borders, really. It was fun, music for music's sake. When I grew up, the emotional aspect of the poetry started making a lot of sense to me apart from the compositional aspect, you know. And that's when I started listening to Faiz Ahmed Faiz's poetry sung by Mehdi Hasan, which goes like, गुलों में रंग भरे बादलों बहार चले चले भी आओ के गुलशन का कारोबार चले. और Ghulam Ali composing Nasir Kazmi's kalam sung by Asha Bhosle, which goes like, दिल धड़कने का सबब याद आया वो तेरी याद थी, वो तेरी याद थी, अब याद आया दिल धड़कने. Borders never really mattered even then. What I realized was these were all uniform human emotions that were expressed in artistic manner. When I joined my band, I came across this particular, some amazing Punjabi kalams actually, written by very famous Sufi poets, and particularly this one, which goes like, which is called Ranjha. It goes like, Ranjha, 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 कर दीनी मैं आपे रांझा होई, सदियों नी मैनू दी तो रांझा, हीरना आखे ओ कोई, रांझा रांझा रांझा. Bulle Shah further says, रांझा मैं रांझे विच होर ख्याल न कोई, thereby affirming the fact that Heer and Ranjha were so much in love that there was no difference even in identities. And the same thought I find in Tagore's poetries when he says, Ami tomaro birohe rohibo bilino, tomate koribo bash, dirgho dibosho, dirgho rajoni, dirgho borosho mash. Same thought, just different languages. One Punjabi and one Bengali, free for an art lover to interpret it the way one wants. Our world is going through a tremendous change. We are confined to our homes. The entire world is collectively fighting an invisible enemy of epic proportion. With all the losses that we've suffered, bidding our loved ones goodbye, this much we've understood, that love and losses feel the same everywhere. And the most important message that we can give out at this point of time is a message of love and empathy. And what better means than art and music to contribute it? To know who we were as a subcontinent and where we can evolve to in the future needs for us to understand the art history and culture of our region. That is why it is important to initiate dialogues of music beyond borders for our future generation to inhabit in a more harmonic and open atmosphere. We cannot change the colloquy at once, but once we start thinking about it, it will be a sheer joy to witness an open and more inclusive future.